Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here on Saturday evening for another Lightworkers Unite. I am doing these every Saturday night at 7 p.m. for as long as it's going to happen, as long as I am called to do this. And then it'll change into something else. For right now, I'm happy to do these. I'm excited for the people who come on board, for the chats that happen, and for all of us to be in this frequency of understanding, of energy, of love, and of light. And what we're looking at is what I call, well, I don't know if I didn't coin this. I know I didn't coin this, but Lightworkers Unite. And Lightworkers Unite is talking about how we who want to stand in our inner light, in our inner strength, in our inner power, how we can kind of strengthen each other just to feel that we are um, not alone in the world, and that we are getting, because a lot of times when you feel that you are supported, it gets a little easier to stand your ground, to stand what you feel is your truth, what you feel is your inner path. And as a shaman, I am Shaman Marcus, and I do shamanic healing with a lot of people, and I do a lot of shamanic activations. I do a lot of group meditations and group work. And as a shaman, my job is to one of my jobs. There's many things to do as a shaman, but one of the big things to do mm, is to guide. I mean, on an individual level, a shaman is here to help people see into themselves. See, the word shaman means somebody who sees into the dark. And we can also call, my shaman teacher calls it seeing into the unseen, healing the unseen. You can look her up at www.healingtheunseen.com. And her name is Ambute Devi, and she's an amazing woman with an amazing power in herself. And I am eternally grateful that I got to take part of that and the healing journey, and that she took me under her wings and helped me heal on my path. And that's what put me onto the deeper part of my healing journey. I've been on the healing journey for quite a lot of years. And it's gotten deeper and deeper, and it's been beautiful because there are so many levels of healing we can work on. There are so many um, frequencies in the body. There are so many layers of the onion that we can work to get deeper into. And for me, going down the shamanic path was the kind of, for now that can change, right? But for now, it was the final step of growth, of stepping into the deepest place of my inner power, what that I could find. And when we move our attention into ourselves, when we become a little more aware of how strong we are when we can stand in our truth, when you have revealed when you have revealed the deepest layers of truth inside of you, when you have visited your darkest places, your deepest places, when you have seen your own demons and you have looked them in the eye and you have actually incorporated them into your being. A lot of times, I used to think, and I think many people think, that we got to get rid of our demons, we got to move them out of our system. But it's not as much of getting rid of them as it is to embrace them, knowing that they're there, and giving them love. When you show love and you shine your light onto something dark, what happens to the darkness when you turn on the light? It goes away. So it's not about taking away something, it's about letting it dissolve into light. That's how we help heal it. So dark sadness, dark depression, dark negativity, dark anger, all of it can be helped by allowing your inner light, your consciousness, your awareness to move in that direction. And as a light worker, this is why I'm here. This is why I want to make these videos. This is what I would like for you to hear, is that as a light worker, we are here to hold the beacon or the torch of light high. We're here to hold each other in light at our highest vibration. And when it comes to what is going on in the world right now, on some levels, I mean, most people, this is the other thing that we got to understand, right? Everybody does the best they can, even when it seems like it's super dark. They're doing the best they can from where they come from, with the information they have and what they believe in. They're doing the best they can. So we all kind of, have access to different kinds of information and different levels. And depending on what you lean to, you're going to either think that it's great to go down the path of getting all the V's, all the Auntie V and all of that stuff, and all the Frank, Uncle B and all that stuff, or you go the other path, which is the path of realizing that maybe this isn't healthy, maybe we need to know more, maybe we got to be more careful, maybe we shouldn't be forcing people to do something they don't want to do. Those are the kind of the basically two main levels of directions, right? And what I want to understand and remember is that even the people that don't agree with where I stand still believe in what they're doing. They're not doing any of these things. Most of these things are not done to be menacing to anybody. They're doing it because they believe they're doing the right thing. Now, of course, when you're on this other side, when you are the type of person that I am, and that I chose to stay clear, unveed, then it can, of course, feel like I'm being very basic. In a way, you could call it oppressed, you could call it vulnerable, you can call it forced or coerced. Um, and of course, you are being coerced on some levels, but also you can also see that it makes sense for the people who went with a V that they are doing what they can. Now, there's Present Grace. Hi, I'm glad you're here. Sarah may be joining. Awesome. Awesome. Glad you're on here, Sarah, or Grace, Shauna. So when we are looking at standing in our biggest, deepest light, we kind of come back into what we can call our home, right? You come back home. You begin to understand what you are, where you come from, and how much of a light being you are. When we start to feel into our own inner light, our own inner healing journey, and our own inner power, it becomes a lot easier to understand when I'm lying to myself, when I'm not lying to myself. It becomes easier to recognize a truth or a non-truth. And as a light worker, the way I am, I chose the path I'm choosing, and I'm choosing to support other people in the same frequency. Because these are about frequencies in our world. We are all tapping into different frequencies. And when we are, frequencies are going through our world in different ways. And this is where it can be a little tricky, because even though people mean well, certain kind of frequencies can be tough for other people to deal with. When you stand in your higher, deeper healing, a lot of times I ended up recognizing, possibly not all my fears, but many of them, many of my fears have been realized, and not realized as in happened, but many of them I had to face most of my fears. And when I have had to face most of my fears, I've also had to kind of grow through them and allow them to release through my system. And then when fear pops up again, I can feel, in my case, how not healthy it is. So I can feel that when we are, projecting a horrible outcome for something in 6 months or a year, I'm like, well, that doesn't have to be real. That's coming from a place of control, utter control. And it's coming from the illusion that we think we have control of the world. It's coming from the illusion that we think we can control every single bacteria, every single little particle around us, which of course we can't. We can't even control what's inside of us. How could we control what's outside of us? It doesn't really work that way. But I know that most of us have kind of been, this is what I think has happened, is over the years, and the way society has kind of evolved, we have kind of gotten into a sense of control. We have gotten into a sense that, well, I can control this. I can control how much money I make. I can control where I live. I can control, you know, other people. Maybe I can kind of maybe control what they think, and I can control it by negativity. If I judge something harshly enough, I can control how they act. And in all reality, control stems from fear. Control stems from a fear-driven system. And as we, there you go, Shauna. I also feel that putting energy into that fear can yes. Oh, without a doubt. I couldn't agree with you more, Shauna. That's whatever we put our attention to manifests, right? So whatever fear we run with, that's why I kind of want to. I call this Lightworkers Unite, because I think we need to stay in our light as much as we can. We don't want to shy away from pointing out things that are unhealthy or that are like, well, that's not a really cool movement. But we also don't want to go too far into the rah, rah, rah on either side. Because when we go too far into they are evil, they are doing this to us, we're going to keep manifesting that as well. And that's, of course, not a very positive thing to manifest for anybody. When the more we understand the energy of manifestation, the more we're going to be aware that the more you can sit in your light, the more you can sit in your inner strength, your inner power, the more you can manifest that in your life, right? So the deeper I get anchored into, or you as well, right, Shauna? The deeper we get anchored into our sense of security, our sense of love, our sense of inner strength and inner power, the more we can manifest that in the world around us. And that, to me, that's the goal of all spiritual teachings in a way, right? To elevate your vibration, to elevate yourself, so you don't sit in negativity, in fear, regardless of what you're afraid of. But like I said, it's also good to be aware that what's going on, that sometimes we need to say, hang on, back up a little bit, slow it down a little bit. Right now, you're being extremely fear driven. And right now, you're telling me that I have to inject something into my system that I really don't want in my system. And that shouldn't be a right thing to do for anybody in my book. At the same time, I don't want to live in the fear of that, because then we're manifesting that, right? So, and it was beautiful. I just sat in the park with a buddy of mine for the meditation that we do every Saturday in a park here, and we were talking about how we can help to spiral upwards, like either in families or in groups of friends and groups of a community. We can see how, like, when my buddy, he just ended up getting into a very nice vehicle for himself, and it's very much aligned with his personality, aligned with where he is in life. And it was a beautiful thing to see how his energy started spiraling upwards, feeling better. And because we're friends, I get affected by his upward spiraling energy, and that helps my energy spiral upwards, right? Just like when we look at my buddy's mom, who may have been worried about him earlier, got very happy that he started spiraling upwards. And that means that her life gets better. And in turn, she worries less. And in turn, there's more support for my friend. So when we are in these groups, that's why I like to have the idea of Lightworkers Unite, that with Shauna, with Sarah, with other people who are on this path, when we start creating community and somebody starts to feel better in that community, it helps the whole community to start feeling better, to start lifting up. So for many people in our regular society, there can be times when people are instead of being happy for somebody else's positive happenings, they get jealous. They because they're living in that lack mentality, so they become like, well, what about me? Why did they get theirs when I'm not getting mine? That's not cool. And then you start creating a downward spiral. both for yourself and how you feel about the other person. You're affecting the energetic field that we're sitting in. And now suddenly everything gets tainted. A little bit like I just had, the power of manifestation and the power of our words. The stronger energy you can access in your body, the stronger you get in your stance, the more power your words have. And the more we have to be careful how we use our words. The more, because it is truthful. Like I've seen it with money quite a lot, but I didn't see it with energy as much before. But when we look at money, we can say the more power, the more responsibility, right? With much power comes much responsibility. And that goes for energy as well. So the more energy we access, the more power we get in our healing practices, the more we can manifest, and the more responsible we have to be how we use that energy, how we use our words, how we use our intention. Something that I used to be able to get away with, even in LA traffic, it can be kind of hard at times to not be mad at people. And I used to be much more mad at people before. And the other day, I wasn't mad. I was just a little like, my God, why did he do that? Somebody did something. And I said some words that weren't very nice. I didn't scream. I wasn't angry, but I said them. And I was like, ooh, I felt it in my whole system. That is not a good way to use your manifestation powers. That's not a good way to use energy. Because now I know that we are all connected in this field of energy. And when we are not speaking positive about somebody, we're actually affecting the field in a negative way. There you are, Shauna. Yes, love that. It's what energy work is all about, raising vibration, and why we must continue to focus on self healing. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why it's a beautiful journey too, right? The healing journey. And before you came on, I talked about the shamanic walk and my shamanic path, and how the deepest healing that I wasn't even aware that there was such deep healing available that my shaman teacher took me through and took me to. I had no idea that you could heal certain things. I thought, well, that's just something you have to live with and it'll heal by itself, is what I thought, which of course led to spiritual bypassing. I didn't know that. I had no idea I was doing that for 7 years. Now, of course, what we don't know, right? And if we can't see it, we can't see it. So once I got the reflection, the mirroring back, then I started seeing it. And then I started learning how to heal it and sit with it. And then with power animals, with spirit guides, with journeys, with sacred medicine journeys, a lot of healing started taking place. And then with daily meditation, 1 to 2 hours, and a lot of intentional meditations, there's a lot of healing that can take place and a lot of energy work. So and that journey never ends, right? Both on the level of the onion, that we are like the onion. You work on one layer of your trauma, one layer of your personality or your field, and you're done with it, and you feel like, oh my God, yes, I feel so good, I feel so healed. And then suddenly, then we then there's another layer, and then we're like, holy God, I thought I was done, and there's more. And there's always going to be more. As long as we're alive, as long as we're in the human body, there's always going to be a little bit more. It can be lighter, it can be harder. In my case, the more I've gone on the journey, the more I can see that most of the time I welcome the challenges, I welcome the pain, because most of the time I know it leads to healing. When I get sucked into unconsciousness, I'm not sure if I sit in well, oh my God, yes, hurt me, but it is beautiful when you come to the space of suffering goes before healing, right? So you got to suffer in order to see what's going on and then heal it. So there you are. Yes, the mirroring is a trip once you see it. Yeah, absolutely. The world is a mirror, and it took me a long time to understand that. We, even though there are levels to all the mirroring that are important to see, right? That that there are certain things, certain times that it can be good to say, nope, that's not cool. If somebody is acting really not nice to somebody, it's not necessarily mirroring just to point it out. There's Sarah Riley. Good morning, good morning. And somebody else came on board as well. Welcome on board. Welcome on board. And it's good morning for you, Sarah, right? It's probably what, 9 o'clock in the morning or something like that, Sunday morning. I have a juice here. It's a mango juice. So I'm going to have a sip of my mango juice. Now, let's see, mirroring is an interesting thing, right? Because when you look at, if you buy a new car and you suddenly see that new car everywhere, 420, holy God, Sarah Riley, you said it's 4:25 p.m. or a.m. Are you that many hours ahead of us? That's a lot of hours ahead of us. That's like 12. Wow. You're many, many, many hours ahead of us in New Zealand. I didn't realize it was that many hours. Wow. That is a lot. That is a lot. So anyway, the mirroring is interesting. Yeah, that's crazy. They are so far ahead. Yeah, that is. I didn't realize it was that many hours. So when we look at the mirroring, if is when we buy a new car, and suddenly you see that new car everywhere you look, and it goes for me, like, for if I buy a used car or a new car, suddenly I start seeing that car very, very often, and it's super interesting how that's just a one level of the mirroring. When we start to see, I could see how some people get very angry with immigrants, for example. Like in Sweden, they used to be, I don't know if it's as bad right now. I don't know. It might be. But it used to be really, really bad that so many people were angry with immigration and immigrants. And they said that only the immigrants act this way. We didn't act this way before. Only the immigrants do this and that. And they tried to get away with this and that, not paying taxes and stealing and all that. And the interesting thing was that most of the people who pointed that out seem to be the people who actually tried to do the same on their own. And I've seen the people who aren't trying to get away with stuff like that, they don't really see that in others. So usually when we point things out of that nature, it can be a reflection of how we see the world ourselves. And I know that my trauma, the way my trauma was sitting in me before, I was very jealous in many of my relationships. And on many levels, it was of course based in trauma combined with how I saw the world. And until I could see through my own perception of the world, and that's the tricky part, right? Until you see through that your perception is completely based in your inner state, and that, of course, other parts of it is based in your my dysfunctional behaviors, as in, if I go into a relationship and I put all my power and I give away all my power. Now, let's see. Sarah Riley says, I literally was late coming here because I've been outside talking to my son about buying cars. And yes, just as you said with your analogy, that's funny. Yeah, because as soon as you buy that car, you're going to see that car everywhere, even though you might not have seen it before. And I think that's fascinating as a thing. But the same thing goes for relationships. And that's a tough one. I thought that was a tough pill to swallow. Because in my world, I was so focused on that the other person needed to not do this or not do that, that if she just didn't look at these people, if she just didn't act that way, I wouldn't be jealous. I wouldn't be insecure. I wouldn't feel this in that way. And on one level, yeah, of course, that's true, right? But on the other level is, if I didn't give away all my power, I wouldn't feel the need. And if I didn't feel the need, I wouldn't be looking the need to control, right? If I have given you all my power in a relationship, and then my heart, my power is in your hands, then I'm going to need to make sure you don't look somewhere else or go somewhere else, because my happiness will leave with you. If I can hold on to my inner strength, my inner heart. Hang on. Sarah Riley, so sync. My son, who's 20, was listening to you right then and was buzzing out what you were talking about. Yeah, that's interesting, huh? That is interesting. The synchronicity is, it happens all the time, doesn't it? We do pick up on the frequencies in our world. We do pick up on what's going on, and the more in tune we are, the more things come out, right? But when we give away our power, in my case, especially in personal relationships, it becomes a very dysfunctional way of being. And I think it's really fascinating to see that if you don't give away your power, it becomes a lot easier to stay healthy, to know what's in you and what's outside of you. See you later, man. And I find that a really, really interesting healing part of my journey, or part of my healing journey, was that when you sit in your power, when you come back home, you are responsible for what's going on inside of you. You're responsible for your reactions and for what happens. And when we can take back our power that way, we don't have to worry about other people, what they do and don't do. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful movement. Let's see. Now, the other thing I wanted to bring out is the idea. So both you, Shauna, and Riley, Sarah, are here, and we're talking about the Lightworkers Unite as well. So the other thing we are doing here is sitting in our light. Yeah, okay, there we go, Sarah. And what you're talking about now regarding giving away power and relationships, been listening to my old readings, and one in particular about taking power back, sync. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. We I believe now that the more I learn both of healing my traumas so that they don't run my life anymore, as long as the traumas are running my perception, and as long as my problem is always somebody else's fault, as long as, if she only acted right, I wouldn't feel this way. If she only did this right, I wouldn't feel this way. As long as my mind goes to that space, I'm always going to be kind of a victim of outer circumstances. And as long as I'm in that space, they are never going to act right. So for me, it was always about coming back home, coming back to, and really healing the mother abandonment wound that's deeply in the sacral chakra, and healing the brokenheartedness that was also connected both to, of course, me giving away my power, and also connected to the mother wound. As long as those wounds, the abandonment wound from the father or the mother, as long as they're very active, we're always looking for somebody else to fill the hole, fill up the trauma, to help us feel better. And as you end up moving into your own power and healing that part of your body, that part of yourself, you don't need somebody else to fill it. So you can feel intact and whole in yourself. You can walk this earth with strength in your steps and with power inside of you. And then I realized that I don't want to give that power away to anyone, that I want to sit in my own inner power, because it's a beautiful experience, Shauna. And isn't it so beautiful to realize that you can't even imagine acting from that trauma anymore? Well, I agree. I think I feel a little like, yes, you're right. But I also feel like I want to be mindful that I have to stay in my healing space, in my inner healing space, so I don't go into that trap, right? It's an easy trap to fall into on some levels, I think. So I realized that for me, I'm grateful as all heck that I don't have to act out. I'm grateful as all heck that I have realized that whatever this person does is none of my business. that what's going on with them is none of my business. Um, so let's see. We'll send you a link to one about coming back home and abandonment. Yeah. So cool, timeless. But did about a year ago. Yes, Aisha. Yes, yes, absolutely. And it is beautiful to start seeing how, just like in my case, how dysfunctional. There you go. It's a human trap, part of growth and learning. Yes, that's why I kind of don't want to be like too secure, too sure about like, yeah, I'm never going to act that way again. Um, because if I'm not centered, if I don't stay in my space, I most likely will act that way again. So I'm grateful that I am able to sit in my inner healing, that I am able to sit with the shamanic healing, with the drumming, with the healing frequencies and energies of our world, so that we can keep growing, keep moving in that direction. Because it's really easy to, I think, at least for me, I I thought I was in a different space, and then a few years ago it came back around, and I got completely sucked back into my control, my jealousy, my insecurities. All of that came out. Right, right, Sean. No, you're right. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm just glad to sit in the space of freedom from it. I love hearing a DM recognize and talking about this. DM, you mean a direct message, or what do you mean by DM? Um, but yeah, I'm very happy that that I get to sit in that space, in the space of love, right, and love and light, right. And it's not to, like, the love and light space for me is not to not see the dark, but it's about sitting in love and light. So when something pops up inside, I can recognize if it where it comes from. Oh, no, a divine masculine. Yes, yes, there you go. Thank you, Sarah. Now I understand what the DM means. Yes, um, I forgot that that's what you called it last week as well. So, and that is a good reminder of the divine feminine, isn't it? The divine feminine versus the divine masculine versus the unhealthy toxic masculine and the toxic feminine. Oh, tarot reader lingo. Yeah. I'm now in on it. Yes. Now I know. I'm so grateful. Yay. So the feelings that I ended up with was that when I sat in my fear, the trauma-based fear, the trauma of the abandonment, the trauma, that's why it's so tricky with, even though I love the idea of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, but it's so tricky because most of us, high five, most of us sit, when we live in the trauma, we're living in the toxicity of either the male or the female. And it's both, it's a mix of both, right? So I often nowadays I don't really, and it's kind of a hard one to talk about, because I don't really see people as victims in the same way that we see victims in our normal society anymore. Um, and it can be very difficult to talk about because it triggers us a lot, and it also brings out a feeling of that's unfair. But I see how most of us have been in our toxic masculine or toxic femininity quite a lot in our world, and sometimes the toxic is distorted. Yes, absolutely, Sarah. Absolutely distorted energy, but also traumatized, blocked energy, right? Like the block is that what's creating that fear, that like, I gotta fix this. I can't feel this way again. No, where the whole body reacts. Because in my case, and I'm pretty sure we all share some of these traumas. In my case, I went through certain trauma growing up. I went through certain kind of abandonment growing up, and I could see some things in the family where I was growing up, and those feelings got instituted into my body, right? They came in, and then my brain learned, no, I don't want to feel that way again. So then it was trying to stop me from feeling that way. And that's where it became control. So I wouldn't have to feel the feelings of abandonment, the feelings of fear that was connected to the abandonment. And also the thought that if I stay with this, if this person stays with me, then I'll be happy. that I don't have enough happiness in myself, that I don't have enough healing, enough light, enough power in my sacral chakra, in my root chakra, in my heart. And when we access that, right, it becomes a lot easier to see it, to feel it. Yes, the block. That's why we listen to what triggers us. Yes, when triggered, it can show us our shadow. Then we heal it and grow. Absolutely, but it's tricky, right? Because when it's so interesting to see, at least on the level of a regular society, where we talk about red flags. Because almost everybody is talking about red flags. Is this a red flag in a relationship? Is that a red flag? I need to look out for red flags. You didn't listen to the red flags. Interestingly enough, what is a red flag? It's something you're looking for so you won't get hurt. Where do you come from when you're looking for things you won't get hurt by? You come from fear. You come from past trauma. Most of the time, when we're looking for red flags, we're going to find them. Of course, it doesn't mean we shouldn't pay attention to who and what the other person's like. But it does mean that we have to learn and recognize what is going on inside of me. What am I looking for? Why am I looking for certain red flags? Why was I looking for? Well, I don't like if a woman goes out too much, or if they like the bars too much, or if they like to party too much, or if they like to stay out till 5 in the morning too much. Like, why was that? Well, because I wanted to protect myself from hurt. And of course, it's not insane, right? Now let's see. Yes, abandonment is very big on the healing. Red flags are just that, red flags. We need to look within. Yes, that's the thing, that when I'm looking for red flags, I'm actually looking for another person to fulfill me, and I'm looking for that person who doesn't have any hurtful behaviors that could hurt me. But when I'm looking for something, I will find it. Just like when I got the new car and suddenly I saw the new car everywhere. That's the same kind of thing. When I'm looking for certain behaviors to be afraid of, I'm going to see those behaviors wherever I go. And then, shamanically speaking, we also talk about how you can enhance the other person's negative behaviors by focusing on them. Well, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. When we are in this space of, like I had that experience in quite a few. Yes, we manifest it when we give it our attention. And that goes for the other person in a relationship as well. And that's the tricky part, which I believe now is why I had almost the same relationship for a very long period of time in my life. I had almost the same relationship, but with many different women, because I kept looking for the same red flags. I kept looking for the same problems. When I keep looking for the same problems, they're gonna show up. And there were even quite a few of the women who said, I've never acted this way before. I don't know what's going on with me. And that's because I have a very powerful manifestation energy. But unfortunately, I didn't know it. So I manifested a lot of darkness instead of manifesting light and love and trust and positivity and encouragement. Right. Yep. So, and until I take full responsibility for what I have created in my life, it's very tough to get away from it. And I think that teaching, now I noticed that the three of us who are here right now, we are on the same page, I think, where we are able to access our inner strength enough so we can take responsibility for my inner reaction, your inner reaction. When I can do that, I'm like so much further along when it comes to my inner space and my inner healing. Not saying that, but where I am on my healing journey is a beautiful space when I started knowing that what's going on inside of me is being reflected outside of me. So I got to take responsibility for what's in here, and thereby also becoming responsible for what's going on out there. And I hear, not like, there's a lot of people who do talk like this, but there's also many people who are still looking out there to change them, change the other partner, change that person, so that they can feel happy. And that's a pretty we're still stuck. In a way, we're still victims of, either call it the matrix, call it the energy field of suffering and trauma. We can call it anything we want, the shadow. Because another thing about the shadow is that pretty much our whole world lives from the shadow. Our whole society, the matrix, is made up of shadow energy. It's made up of not enoughness. It's made up of, you should be afraid. You should be scared that you won't find the right partner. You should be scared that there's not going to be enough money. You should be scared that your work isn't going to like you enough. You should be scared that you're not going to keep your house. That's all, that fear stems from the shadow side, right? When we feel that way, we act out in selfish, grabbing, taking ways. And that in turn becomes how we treat Earth Mother. We take as much as we can from Earth Mother in order to feel safe, not realizing that there's no safety to be found in that behavior, that it only feeds more fear. So that is a beautiful part of inner growth and inner healing. Eckhart Tolle talks about how, the outer pollution of our world is only a reflection of our inner pollution. And I find that a beautiful, allegory or image of how, even if you looked at how, if you had a neighbor, or if you had a friend whose home looked horrible. My house has looked horrible over and over when I was younger. Luckily, I've grown emotionally and spiritually and energetically, so now I have energy to keep things clean. But for a long time, I didn't. I was depressed and I was in a darker place in my life. And if like somebody who I really knew came, I would have to clean up, right? But if I didn't, I would be ashamed of what it looked like. Imagine how that our earth is our home, and that we are creating a pretty big mess on our planet. That's based in the shadow. That's based in the fear. So, but that's also, now we're coming back to the divine masculine and the divine feminine. That's where, when the divine masculine understands that we need to clean up our act, because in a way, the divine feminine is very aware of that already. The divine feminine is suffering with Earth Mother, while the toxic masculine thinks that it needs to create more stuff out there. I still got those messy spells. Yes, absolutely, Sarah, me too. But I've noticed that when I do, it's always connected to if I feel stressed or worried about finances or other things. When I feel overwhelmed, suddenly my house starts to get overwhelmed as well. And as soon as I come back into my energy, my own body, my healing, and I sit down and I go, let me take an hour or 2 or 3 to straighten this out. Suddenly it's like, oh, I feel better. Everything feels better. Not from the cleaning up, but because I started coming back home inside already. So I started seeing that the outside is, there's nothing wrong with being messy, but I think there might be different levels of messiness. My level of messiness is pretty messy. So, right. And when we have that as a thing, full control, that's another thing of like, when I want everything to be spot shiny or spot free or whatever, I forget the expression. But when everything has to be completely clean on the outside, that could be because we're feeling so out of control inside, and that we only can control the outsides. That's also a method to cover up our feelings of lack of control and powerlessness and all that. Not been feeling well, so hence I go outside, lie on the grass, feel the air and earth and air. Yes, absolutely. Now, I understand that, Sarah. Now, I want to share that if either one of you, Shauna or Sarah, or anybody else who sees these videos, want to have a session I am happy to do distance sessions to anywhere in the world, and they work really, really well. The shamanic sessions are very powerful. It's a lot like distance Reiki, but it's on Zoom, so it's in person. It's live, and yeah, it's very powerful. So if you need any energy work, let me know. I'm very, very happy to support our community. The Lightworkers Unite. Our community, I feel like we are in a similar frequency. We are moving through our world in a similar way. And when we do, we're going to end up strengthening each other. We can share that power, that energy with each other. We create a very strong grid and a very strong network. And as we do, it becomes easier to stand in our power. Yeah, let's do it, Sarah. Let's connect after this on IG or something, and we'll figure out a time. 'Cause I think I love doing these sessions. I love doing the sessions, and they're very, very powerful. So whatever can come up. There you go, Shauna. Thank you, Marcus. I was just thinking earlier it would be nice to share energy work. Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think it's a really good idea because I just know that we like even like here in LA, I do these live meditations in person, right? And we're creating a community, and that community is becoming very beautiful. It's becoming we're not that many, but everybody has this loving supporting energy of each other, and we're sharing experiences and thoughts and expertise on different things, and it's becoming just a really beautiful little group of people. And I think we can create that virtually across the world as well as we do it in person. So that's an offering we should talk about. I think it's beautiful. I think it's really, really beautiful. So let's discuss that after this thing here. So, um, hmm, yes. Hmm. So the divine masculine holds space for the divine feminine to express itself. Let's see what you say here, Sarah. Been feeling really lightheaded and wasted all week. You got the second jab. Thank you, Marcus. Let's arrange something. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And let's see what we can do to help you release and strengthen after the Auntie V experience that you're going through. The divine feminine, masculine, the divine masculine is here to hold space for. Yes, there you go, Shauna. That's a great idea. Yes, and maybe we can figure it out either through here on YouTube, or we figure it out on our own platforms, or we figure it out on IG or something. But we can figure out a way to stay in touch and to have group healing sessions, to have group meetings, to have something that can help all of us. Yeah, you're right, Shauna. You're spread out around the world for a reason. I could not agree with you more. And I think it's a beautiful thing if we can all feel like we're participating as well, because we're all, that's how we're going to add to your unique abilities, and your unique energy will add to the wholeness, the fabric of the whole situation. And that's how we kind of we're feeling we're filling the gaps. Sarah Riley, yes, I want to get back into my light and get back into doing readings again. Absolutely. Are you? Yes. Yes, could not agree with you more. There's a yes, 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 and yes. And when it comes to our life, our energy, the divine masculine is, of course, a forgotten art. There are men out there that are very much in their divine masculinity, but there are many who aren't. And unfortunately, the way our world, right? We've talked about this before last week, but I will mention it again. The way I started seeing the world is that like it looks like there are certain kind of energies and entities that are taking over, like almost like how in capitalism, if we look at what wins the game is the one who is more fair based than the others are going to fight harder to win out, and that's the person that wins, right? Now there's no light or love in that, right? So we understand that the whole system is sort of rigged on more and more fear. The more fear-based it is, the stronger it is. So that means that toxic masculinity wins out on the physical, practical level. On the spiritual, healthy, adult, grown-up level, toxic masculinity and toxic femininity don't really have a chance, because they are very unhealthy. And if you back away, you can have a discussion with any, you know, stock market trader or anybody you want, and they will say, no, money is all there is, and this is all there. No, without money, it's not going to work. But when you back out from the matrix, if you unplug from the matrix and you see that what we're doing in our world is both extremely fear-based and it's creating havoc for ourselves, for everybody else on the planet, and for the planet itself. When we realize that growing our foods with poison, that when we realize that polluting our air with heavy metals, with carbon dioxide, the way we're doing it, not the way nature did it, but the way we're doing it. When we realize how negative that is and how fear-based that is, we can see that the healthy way to deal with all this is the divine masculine and the divine feminine. On so many levels, the divine feminine is raw, powerful. It's raw, powerful nature. It's very feral in nature. It's not controllable, and it doesn't need to be controllable. Earth Mother doesn't need to be controlled, just like any kind of divine feminine doesn't need to be controlled. The divine masculine needs to hold space. But then at the same time, we come back into, right, both divine masculine and divine feminine needs to look at what's healthy inside of themselves. What is health inside of any one of us? How do I stay in my highest vibration? How do you stay in your highest vibration? As you do, we learn to express ourselves, both the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And it becomes a beautiful dance, a dance of trust, a dance of love, a dance of light, and an upward building spiral of energy, of life, of beauty, right? And at least the way I see it, it's incredible. Yep, you see, Sarah Riley. Yep, he really, he does a number on things. Yes, every time I try to talk about the divine feminine, he comes in. Yes, we'll see what happens. He flew out to the kitchen right now, so I have a few minutes of respite, hopefully. The interesting thing is that as we start to recognize that when I feel better, when I heal my inner energy field, when I start removing blockages from my insides, there is blue again. When I start removing those blockages from the inside, my energy starts to vibrate higher, and I have access to deeper knowing in my body. I start feeling better, start feeling stronger. And as I feel stronger, as I feel better, I start acting better. It's easier to act better. And suddenly I'm creating, and then when I feel better, I act better, I smile more. And I can smile more to neighbors, to people at the coffee store, to people down the street, to workmates, to anybody. And when I do, they smile more. And suddenly we're creating this upward building spiral that just keeps building. And as we do that, we stay healthier and healthier, and we build a stronger community in ourselves and with each other. That is where both divine masculine and divine feminine can support and help each other in the dance of life. And all it takes is for us to come back home, come back into your own power. And we're doing it. We're doing it through these sessions here, the YouTube Live. We're doing it on Instagram, on Facebook. We're doing it together, right? So whatever the expression takes in you, whatever your journey takes you on, follow your heart. Follow your intuition. Like shamanically speaking, we often talk about, and I have felt it for a long time. I didn't know why I felt it so strongly. But then I started learning about it more, realizing that in the shamanic community, we talk about following your heart instead of your mind, because the heart both can feel what's around the corner. Okay, Sarah, I'm going to see what you said. Yes, so true. I usually can fight from toxic energies, but at the moment I feel like I'm being invaded with ailments and I do need extra. Yes. And that's why it's good to create a community, because we can support each other when we go through hard times. And I think most of us will be facing hard times on and off. And you will get extra support, Sarah. So, yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. This is how we create circles of love, right? Circles of energetic support, of positivity, of love, of energy. Yes. Mm. So, when it comes to following our hearts, when we sit in our open heart, in our own open heart, we begin to realize that the heart will feel what's right for you, right? So just like when you met that person that you fell deeply in love with, or if you've had children with somebody, and if you've had a marriage to somebody, usually you have felt that, oh shit, this is a future shift. This is somebody that's important in my life. I can feel it. I can feel this shift happening here. And when you're listening to your heart that way, usually it creates something very beautiful, even if it may hurt on the way. Because following your heart doesn't always mean that it's going to go upwards. Following your heart means that it's going to go, we're going to fall in order to learn the lessons we need to learn so we can keep growing. If we always follow the mind, which is pretty much trauma based, the mind is usually living in the retrospect, right? It's living in the past. It's living in based in what happened before. I don't want to experience that again, so I'm not going to do that again. So that means we go into control. So when the mind comes into play, we usually go into toxicity. We base our lives in fear. While when we listen to the heart lives forward. It lives in a forward motion. And as we start to listen to the heart more, we can, even when it goes wrong, it's there for our growth. It's there to teach us something. So even the times in my life when I've done things that seem on the surface to be really not so healthy or smart, when I followed my heart, I learned the most deepest healing I could ever imagine. There you go, Shauna. The heart doesn't fit the paradigm of logical sense. Exactly. Because logical sense wants to stay safe. And there's Sarah. You talked about the dance. Yes, the dance of life. Yes. Today in particular, I crave to be able to dance again. I miss it so much. It's where my soul sings. Yes. And there's no doubt that when you connect into your energy field, whatever your energy says, dancing, especially for the divine feminine, but also for the masculine, but especially for the divine feminine, or many women can feel the need to move to rhythm, to move and express the energy of life in the flow of music, right? And I think it's a beautiful way to express how we are, right? To literally be able to dance. Now, do you mean that you physically are unable, or do you mean that the places that we could dance in are closed because of the pandemic? Because dancing is such an important part of life, right? And like singing, hearing the song of you said something, it's where my soul sings, right? Whenever you think about, when have you been in situations, let's see, you actually shared one of your old dance videos on FB today. Yes. So and I'm asking, do you mean that you can't physically dance yourself anymore, or do you mean that the places where you go and dance aren't open? I just wanted to ask for clarification. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hopefully that can change soon. Maybe you can dance from the hips up. Maybe. I'm not sure. Oh, and for you, it's singing, Shauna. Yeah. So wherever your soul sings, literally sings, or feels like your body is just singing, follow that. That's where you're going to raise your vibration. That's where you're going to sit in your highest frequency. And who knows how the universe will react when you follow your highest frequency. That's how we go move into our power, is to remove the fear that says, no, you can't do that. No, you shouldn't sing. No, you shouldn't dance. No, you shouldn't do this. No, you shouldn't do that. Remove the fear, follow the heart, and see how we can change the world. It's really the only way we can change the world. Like the light workers, we heal people, right? We heal ourselves, and then we help others to heal as well. We also learn how to, in the healing process, learn how to express who we are and what our dreams are. Sarah Riley, yes, I do, just not the same. Yesterday I tried, but still very weak on that leg and have bursitis in my shoulder. Well, we should do some things for you, my dear. Absolutely, absolutely. And we can approach all that in our session. There are many levels of healing that are accessible for in these kind of situations. So yeah, you too. I'm very grateful we're all here. I think we're on the path of creating a beautiful community, and I think we should connect either right away after this or yeah, right away after this probably, and we should go through what we can do. Now, these videos here are, of course, very personal. We're very, at least we're all very vulnerable right here. And these are open on YouTube. So, just so we know. Let's see what else is going on here. Yes. So this is Lightworkers Unite. And this is how we start a community. And this is how we help each other grow. And how we also can stand strong. There you go. Yes, please. Your morning sessions on FB help release some tension in the muscle and joints. Yes. Yes, those are also powerful. We're going to go a little deeper and a little longer on the personal sessions. They're very similar in nature, but they are just a little more in person, one-on-one. So when we look at the healing work, yes, nice to be open as light workers. I agree, Sarah. Yes, that's what we need to do. It's just good to be aware that this is a very open channel as well. When it comes to opening our hearts, we can open the heart up. We can feel it happening. We can envision ourselves opening our heart. And we can feel that that's a way to sit in your divine masculine and your divine feminine. And, of course, most men have maybe a little more divine masculine in them, but we have divine feminine as well. And most women have maybe a little more divine feminine in them, but they have divine masculine as well. Right. So we have a balance of both male and female in us. And I do believe that it's actually equal. If we look at how the yin and the yang describes the yin and the yang, the male and the female, the dark and the light, we can see in a perfect balance in a spinning world. It's a perfect balance in a moving three-dimensional world. So, my dear Shauna and Sarah and whoever else is watching, I'm grateful we're here. I think we're going to call it quits for today. And we're going to this is going to be going on at this YouTube Live. I'll be doing every Saturday for a while, and maybe add some more to figure out a way to just come up with themes and all that can work for all of us. And Sarah and Shauna, we should figure out a platform where we can either have a Zoom meeting, or if we set up something on a website or something where we can start communicating, connecting, because we do it through Facebook and Instagram, but it's probably good to have our own channels as well. So let's figure that out. That's just some ideas that I'm throwing out there, and then we'll see where we land. Maybe I'll build something on my website or so. We'll see. All right, everybody. Thank you for being on here. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, President Grace, Shauna. I love that we get to sit here together. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful day and evening. I know it's late for you, Shauna. And let's talk throughout the week. All right, everybody. Is it going to be Happy Christmas before I see you again? Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas. Bye.